Kira had always believed she was smarter than this. At 35 years old, she had a career she'd built from the ground up as a nurse in one of New York's busiest emergency rooms. She had a beautiful apartment in Brooklyn with exposed brick walls and large windows that let in the morning sun. She had a master's degree, she had friends who loved her, she had her life together in every way that mattered, except one. The one that kept her up at night, staring at her phone. The one that made her chest tight with anxiety. The one that had her questioning her worth at 2 a.m. His name was Marcus. They'd met 3 years ago at a young professionals networking event in Manhattan. Kira had gone reluctantly, dragged there by her friend Simone, who insisted she needed to get out more. She'd been standing by the bar trying to look interested in the conversations around her when he approached. Marcus was tall, over 6 feet, with a clean fade and a smile that made her stomach flip. He wore a tailored suit that fit him perfectly, and he had this confidence that filled the space around him. He worked in finance at a midtown firm, he told her. Made good money, had his own place in Manhattan. He asked for her number before the night was over, and Kira gave it to him without hesitation. The first 3 months were perfect. He texted her good morning every day. They had long phone conversations that stretched past midnight, talking about everything and nothing. He took her to nice restaurants in Tribeca and the West Village, places with white tablecloths and waiters who knew the wine list by heart. He held her hand across the table and told her she was beautiful, special, different from other women he dated. He said she had substance, that she wasn't like these shallow New York girls who only cared about what he could buy them. Kira felt seen, chosen. She thought she'd finally found it, a man who valued her for who she was. But somewhere around month 4, things started to shift. The good morning texts became sporadic. Some days she'd get them, other days she wouldn't. The dinner dates turned into late night invitations to his place. He'd text her at 10 or 11 p.m. asking if she wanted to come through. At first, Kira thought it was spontaneous, romantic even, but then it became a pattern. Their relationship, if she could even call it that, existed primarily after dark, and always at his convenience. The phone calls disappeared entirely, replaced by text messages that came whenever he felt like it. Sometimes he'd be responsive, texting her back within minutes. Other times, hours or even days would pass before she'd hear from him. And Kira somehow accepted it. She told herself he was busy, that his job in finance was demanding, that she needed to be understanding, patient, cool. She didn't want to be that woman, the needy one, the one who complained, the one who asked for too much. So instead, she gave more. She made herself available whenever Marcus called. If he texted at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday saying he missed her, Kira would cancel her plans to unwind after a 12-hour shift and drive from Brooklyn to his place in Manhattan. She'd sit in traffic on the BQE, reapply her lipstick in the car, make sure she looked good for him even though she was exhausted. When she got there, they'd have sex, maybe watch something on Netflix, and then he'd fall asleep. Sometimes Kira would lie there next to him, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was what a relationship was supposed to feel like. Empty, one-sided, uncertain. He never took her out anymore, not really. It was always his apartment, always late at night, always when it was convenient for him. And when Kira would try to suggest going out, doing something during the day, maybe grabbing brunch or going to a museum, Marcus would say he was busy, swamped with work, had a lot going on. He'd promised they'd do something soon, but soon never came. And yet Kira stayed. She stayed because she was afraid of being alone again, afraid of starting over, afraid that maybe this was as good as it got. 3 years passed like this. 3 years of breadcrumbs, 3 years of accepting the bare minimum and calling it enough. Kira's friends noticed before she did. Her best friend Simone had stopped biting her tongue months ago. Over brunch, one Sunday, at a cafe in Fort Greene, Simone put down her mimosa and looked Kira straight in the eye. "Girl, when was the last time Marcus took you on an actual date? And I don't mean you going to his place at midnight. I mean a real date. Dinner, drinks, somewhere public." Kira had gotten defensive immediately. "He's been really busy with work." You know how demanding finance is? Simone wasn't having it. Kira, it's been 3 years. 3 years, and you still don't know where this is going. He's never called you his girlfriend. You've never met his friends or his family. He doesn't post you on social media. Hell, I don't even think his coworkers know you exist. She paused, her voice softening. You deserve better than this. You know that, right? Kira did know. Deep down she knew. But admitting it meant facing the reality that she'd wasted 3 years on a man who didn't value her. It meant acknowledging that she'd been playing herself, that she'd accepted crumbs when she deserved the whole meal. So instead of facing it, she made excuses. She changed the subject. She told Simone she was being dramatic, but that conversation planted a seed, a small, uncomfortable seed of truth that Kira couldn't quite ignore anymore. Still, she didn't change anything. She kept seeing Marcus on his terms, kept making herself available, kept hoping that if she just gave a little more, loved a little harder, was a little more patient, he'd finally see her worth and step up, but he never did, because why would he? Kira had taught him that he didn't have to. She'd shown him through her actions that he could treat her however he wanted, and she'd still be there, available, waiting, grateful for whatever scraps of attention he tossed her way. Breaking point came on a Friday night in late September. Kira had been at the hospital all day, pulling a double shift because they were short-staffed. She was exhausted, her feet aching, her scrubs sticking to her from the humidity of the New York heat that still lingered. All she wanted was to go home, take a shower, and collapse into bed. But then her phone buzzed. It was Marcus. You up? Come through. Kira stared at the message. It was almost 11 p.m. She'd been awake since 5 that morning. She was tired. So tired. But that old familiar pull was there. The one that made her say yes, even when everything in her body screamed no. She texted back, I just got off a double. I'm exhausted. She waited, watched the 3 dots appear and disappear, appear and disappear. Finally, his response came. All right, another time then. That was it. No, I hope you get some rest. No, you work so hard, I'm proud of you. Just a casual dismissal. Kira felt something crack inside her chest. She drove home in silence, too numb to even turn on the radio. When she got to her apartment, she dropped her bag by the door and sat on the edge of her bed, still in her scrubs. And then, for the first time in 3 years, she let herself feel it. All of it. The disappointment, the frustration, the humiliation of knowing she'd been accepting less than she deserved for so long. She picked up her phone, and instead of texting Marcus, she opened Instagram. She started scrolling mindlessly, trying to distract herself from the tightness in her throat. And that's when she saw it, a video on her Explore page. The thumbnail showed a man with the caption, "Why he's breadcrumbing you." The man's name was MJ Harris. Kira clicked on it without thinking. The video started and MJ's voice was clear, direct, no nonsense. He was talking about men who give just enough attention to keep you around, but never enough to actually commit. Men who text late at night, but won't take you out in public. Men who enjoy all the benefits of a relationship without any of the responsibility. Kira's hand went to her mouth. It was like MJ was describing her exact situation, word for word. She watched the entire video, then another one, then another. MJ talked about something called high-value behavior, about how women give too much too soon and teach men they don't have to try, about how being too available makes you low value in his eyes, about how a man will only do what you allow, and if you allow inconsistency, that's exactly what you'll get. One video hit Kira like a punch to the gut. MJ said, "You're out here giving wife benefits to a man who won't even call you his girlfriend. You're auditioning for a role you were never offered. And the worst part, he's never going to give you what you want because you already gave him everything without requiring anything in return." Kira felt tears streaming down her face. She'd been doing exactly that. She'd been bending over backward for Marcus, making his life easy, being understanding and patient and cool And what had it gotten her? 3 years of feeling anxious and undervalued. She spent the entire weekend watching MJ Harris videos. She took notes. She watched videos about feminine energy, about letting men pursue, about not chasing, about holding your value and making a man invest to access you. MJ talked about something called sprinkle sprinkle, a phrase that meant making men invest financially, emotionally, and with their time before you give them your energy and your body. Kira realized with horror that she'd done the opposite. She'd given Marcus everything up front, access to her body, her time, her emotional energy, and he'd given her nothing in return but inconsistent attention. One of MJ's core principles stuck with Kira. A high-value woman is not easily accessible. She has standards, she has boundaries, and she enforces them without explanation or apology. Kira realized she'd had no boundaries with Marcus. She'd been accessible 24/7. She'd dropped everything when he called. She'd never required him to plan in advance, to take her on real dates, to invest in her in any meaningful way. She'd made it too easy. And men, as MJ explained, don't value what comes easy. That Sunday night, Kira made a decision. She didn't text Marcus to break things off. She didn't send a long message explaining her feelings or asking for closure. She simply stopped engaging. When Marcus texted her Monday afternoon with his usual, "What you doing tonight?" Kira didn't respond for 6 hours. When she finally did, she kept it short. Busy. No explanation, no apology, no offer of an alternative time. Just busy. Marcus texted back immediately. Busy with what? Kira almost laughed. In 3 years, he'd never asked her what she was doing. He'd never cared about her schedule or her life outside of when she was available to him. She didn't answer. She put her phone down and went about her evening. She made herself dinner, took a long bath, did a face mask, and went to bed early. She didn't check her phone obsessively. She didn't worry about whether Marcus was upset. For the first time in 3 years, Kira focused on herself. The next few weeks were a test of Kira's willpower. Marcus noticed the shift immediately. He started texting more frequently. He called instead of texting. He asked what was going on, why she seemed distant. Kira kept her responses short and unbothered. "Just focusing on myself," she'd say. "Been really busy with work and personal stuff." She didn't give him details. She didn't try to make him jealous or play games. She was genuinely detaching, genuinely moving on. And that authenticity made all the difference. Kira threw herself into her own life. She signed up for a Pilates class at a boutique studio in Williamsburg that she'd been wanting to try for months. She started going 3 times a week. She joined a book club with women from the hospital. She got her hair done, her nails done, bought new clothes that made her feel powerful and beautiful. She started going out with Simone and her other friends again, saying yes to invitations she used to decline because she was waiting to see if Marcus would be available. And something incredible happened. Kira started to feel like herself again. The anxious, waiting, hoping version of herself that had existed for 3 years began to fade. In her place emerged a woman who was confident, unbothered, and focused on her own happiness. She stopped checking her phone constantly. She stopped caring whether Marcus texted or not. She was filling her life with things that brought her joy, and Marcus's inconsistent attention no longer had the power to make or break her day. One evening in late October, Kira was at a wine bar in Soho with Simone and 2 other friends. They were celebrating one of the girls' promotions, laughing and sipping wine, when a man approached their table. He was tall, distinguished looking, maybe late 30s or early 40s. He had kind eyes and a warm smile. "Excuse me," he said, looking directly at Kira. "I don't mean to interrupt, but I noticed you from across the room and I had to come say hello." "I'm David." Kira smiled. Normally, she would have been awkward, unsure of what to say. But this new version of Kira, the one who'd been learning about her value and practicing high-value behavior, knew exactly what to do. She smiled warmly, but didn't gush. "Hi, David, I'm Kira. This is my girls' night, but it's nice to meet you." She was polite, but she didn't drop everything to give him her full attention. She didn't make it easy. David smiled wider. "I completely respect that. Girls' night is sacred, but I'd love to take you out sometime if you're open to it. Can I give you my number?" Notice, Kira thought. He offered his number. He didn't demand hers. He was already showing respect and effort. She took his number, told him she'd think about it, and turned back to her friends. David thanked her for her time and walked away. Simone grabbed Kira's arm the second he was gone. "Girl, did you see how he looked at you? That man is interested." Kira waited 3 days before texting David, not because she was playing a game, but because she was genuinely busy living her life. When she did text him, it was simple. "Hi, David, this is Kira from the wine bar. Hope you're having a good week." His response came within an hour. "Kira, I'm so glad you reached out. I've been hoping to hear from you. I'd love to take you to dinner this weekend if you're available." Saturday evening? Notice the difference, Kira thought. A specific day, a specific plan, dinner. Not come through at 11 p.m., not "what you doing tonight?" David was planning in advance. He was investing effort. Kira agreed, and that Saturday, David picked her up from her apartment at 7 p.m. He showed up on time, opened the car door for her, and took her to a beautiful Italian restaurant in the West Village. Over dinner, he asked her questions about her life, her career, her dreams. He listened, he was present, he wasn't on his phone. He was genuinely interested in getting to know her. At the end of the night, David walked Kira to her door and told her he'd had an amazing time. He asked if he could see her again. Kira said yes. As she walked into her apartment that night, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate, anxious hope she'd carried with Marcus, always waiting for him to do better. This was different. This was the calm, confident hope of a woman who knows her worth and is finally being treated accordingly. Over the next 2 months, Kira and David saw each other regularly. He planned dates in advance. He called her during the week just to hear her voice. He introduced her to his friends. He made her feel valued, chosen, and cherished. He invested in her with his time, his attention, and yes, his money. He paid for dates without hesitation. He surprised her with flowers. He showed up consistently. This, Kira realized, was what a high-value man looked like. And she'd almost missed it because she'd been wasting her time with someone who saw her as an option. Marcus, meanwhile, was spiraling. As Kira pulled away completely, his texts became more frequent, more desperate. He called her one night in early November. She answered more out of curiosity than anything else. "Kira, what's going on with you?" he asked. "You've been so distant. Did I do something wrong?" Kira almost laughed at the absurdity. 3 years of doing her wrong, and now he wanted to know if he'd done something. "Marcus," she said calmly, "I've just been focusing on myself. I realized I was giving a lot of energy to something that wasn't going anywhere, and I decided to redirect that energy into my own life." There was silence on the other end. "So what, you're done with me?" he finally asked. "I'm done accepting less than I deserve," Kira said simply. "I wish you well, Marcus. I really do." She hung up before he could respond. In mid-December, Kira posted a photo on Instagram. It was from a date with David at a rooftop bar in Manhattan. The city lights twinkled behind them, and Kira was glowing. Her smile was genuine, her eyes bright. She looked happy, truly happy. She didn't post it for Marcus. She didn't even think about him when she posted it. She posted it because she was proud of where she was in her life, proud of the woman she'd become. But Marcus saw it. Of course he did. Within an hour of posting, her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Wow, you look happy. New man." Kira stared at the message. The old version of her would have felt guilty, would have over-explained, would have worried about his feelings. The new Kira felt nothing but indifference. She responded simply, "I am happy. Take care, Marcus." He tried again 2 days later. Another text. "Hey, I've been thinking about us. I think I messed up. Can we talk?" Kira read the message and felt a wave of clarity wash over her. This was the same man who'd kept her on the hook for 3 years, the same man who'd made her feel small and unimportant, the same man who couldn't be bothered to take her on a real date or introduce her to his friends. And now that she'd moved on and was glowing, he suddenly wanted to talk. He suddenly saw her value, but it was too late. She typed her response carefully. "Marcus, I appreciate you reaching out, but I've moved on. I'm in a really good place in my life, and I'm focused on my own happiness and growth. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not with me. Take care." She hit send and blocked his number, not out of anger or spite, but out of self-preservation. She didn't need that door open anymore. She'd walked through a new one. That Christmas, Kira spent the holidays with David and his family in Connecticut. They welcomed her with open arms, and she felt a sense of belonging she'd never experienced with Marcus. As she sat by the fireplace, sipping hot chocolate and listening to David's mother tell stories, Kira thought about where she'd been a year ago. Anxious, waiting, hoping for a man to see her value. And now she was here, valued, chosen, celebrated. Not because she'd chased it, but because she'd stopped accepting less and started requiring more. The transformation hadn't been about playing games or manipulating Marcus into wanting her. It had been about Kira finally seeing her own worth and refusing to settle for breadcrumbs. It had been about learning that a high-value woman doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't accept inconsistency. She simply knows what she deserves and walks away from anything less. And when she does that, when she truly embodies her value, the right man shows up. Not because she needed him to complete her, but because she was already complete. And he recognized that completeness as something rare and worth investing in. By the spring, Kira and David had been together for 6 months. He'd asked her to be his girlfriend officially after their 3rd date, and by month 4, he'd introduced her to his family. This was what a real relationship looked like, Kira realized. Consistency, effort, intentionality. David wasn't perfect, but he was present. He showed up. He communicated. He made her a priority, not an option. And Kira, in turn, showed up as the best version of herself. Not because she was performing or trying to keep him, but because she was genuinely happy and fulfilled. She thought about Marcus sometimes, not with longing or regret, but with gratitude. Gratitude that she'd finally woken up. Gratitude that she'd found MJ Harris's videos and learned the principles that changed her life. Gratitude that she'd been strong enough to walk away and bet on herself. Because if she hadn't, she'd still be sitting in that same anxious, unfulfilled space, waiting for a man who would never give her what she deserved. One warm afternoon in April, Kira was walking through Prospect Park with David when she saw a couple sitting on a bench. The woman looked young, maybe mid-20s, and she was staring at her phone with a sad, anxious expression. The man next to her was scrolling through his own phone, not even looking at her. Kira's heart squeezed. She recognized that look, that anxious waiting, that hoping for attention from someone who wasn't giving it. She wanted to walk up to that woman and tell her what she'd learned, that you teach people how to treat you, that being too available makes you low value in his eyes, that a man who wants you will show you that you don't have to beg for consistency. But she didn't, because that woman, just like Kira had been, would have to learn it on her own. She'd have to hit her own breaking point. She'd have to find her own wake-up call. All Kira could do was live her truth and be an example of what's possible when you stop settling, when you walk away from breadcrumbs, when you finally see your own worth. As she walked away from the park with David's hand in hers, Kira smiled. She'd done it. She'd broken free. And on the other side of that breaking, she'd found something better than she ever imagined. Not just a better man, but a better version of herself. A woman who knew her value, a woman who wouldn't accept less, a woman who understood that real love doesn't make you anxious, it makes you peaceful. And peace, Kira had learned, was the ultimate luxury. Marcus never reached out again after she blocked him. And honestly, Kira never thought about him anymore. He was a chapter in her story, a lesson she needed to learn. But he wasn't her future. He wasn't even her present. He was just a memory of who she used to be when she didn't know any better. And now finally she knew. She knew what she deserved. She knew how a man should treat her. She knew her worth. And she would never, ever accept breadcrumbs again.